it was fantastic. Okay, well maybe it was or maybe it wasn't. No, but I just wanted to get out of the way now. Okay, let's talk about the Fantastic Four and whether I liked it or not. Let's first talk about the movie length. 1 hour and 55 minutes. This is on the relatively shorter side for movies. I mean, for Marvel movies at least. 2 hours is still a long time for a movie, and that's what a movie should be. But because of this, the pacing felt kind of fast actually, and this is a good thing for the movie because this was a good thing for a movie on some parts, because they wouldn't dwell on something too long. They wouldn't focus on any side plots for too long. But the pacing also felt too fast. It felt forced at times. Uh, it's kind of disappointing because like it wouldn't. It felt like a little forced. Like let's keep it moving. Let's move along now. Like, oh, we're like this happened, but like 5 minutes later, we're just like, nah, keep going, keep going. And it was kind of disappointing because like this movie wasn't an origin story movie, and I think they announced that before going into the movie, like even before trailer. No, as trailers were coming out, there were. This is an origin story. Everyone in the world knows who the Fantastic Four is. They know what happened to them, and they like we're going off in the middle right now. So then I feel like this allows them to use the time for more, um, for more character development, for more action, for more of everything. And it just, I don't know. I feel like they maybe tried to put too much or not enough, or they tried to just like force put it and like, okay, well, we acknowledged it. Let's just keep acknowledging more stuff and just focus on something else. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't. I just felt like I wish, I just want to see more of it. But like, I'm like that with any movie, so it's. So then the plot, the main plot line was simple, interesting. The stakes were high, of course. This was fine. I mean, like, even though it didn't introduce the origins like of the Fantastic Four, like I said already, it did, like, it still gave an introduction to the characters, and this was what the movie was. It was an introduction to the Fantastic Four in the new reboot, and I think the plot line, really showed that. It was just like, oh no, like big bad. How are we gonna stop it? We have to stop it. We have to find a way to stop it. And if we don't stop it, then the world's gonna And it was simple, but it was nice because that's what it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be like, even though it's the start of phase 6, 7 of the MCU, it didn't have to lead to anything crazy. It was just like, we're gonna make a movie about Fantastic Four, and that's all it was. That's what the plotline says, and it was still, the stakes were still high. It was still interesting, but it didn't try to be more than it actually was, and that was fine. the action, the action according to the plot was fantastic. Actually, the visuals were amazing. The new CGI, the new just visuals is just, it looked like art, and they were all like super good and realistic. This decision making was also interesting to watch, like with the action, like the technicality. It wasn't just punch your way out of it. Um, every character had something to do, and it really showcased like their thoughts and their decision making and their thoughts and their planning and what they were going to do, and their power use, and it really, like, it just looked great. And there was a lot of action, like, even though there was a lot of talking points in this movie, there was still like enough action to balance it, and you knew when it was going to happen, and it was great. The characters were great. Let's talk about, like, I'm going from like least favorite to most favorite, I guess. But I mean, they were all still great. First, Galactus. Galactus, he's the main villain. They showed him in the trailers. I hope it's not spoiling that I'm saying like he's like the main villain. But he was simple. He was Galactus. He did what he came to do. He's gonna eat the Earth. He's gonna destroy the world. Um, So yeah, there wasn't really anything much to that. He was great. No, he looked great though. He looked great. Um, I feel like maybe they could have shown him be more destructive in a way, because I felt like they left a little bit of that out. He was too focused on something else that he wasn't really. Which, I mean, it still makes sense. So I guess let's not dwell on that for now. But yeah, Galactus was Galactus. He looked great. There's not many complaints about him. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. The writing for him was pretty good, actually. Pedro Pascal played him like pretty well. Just a lot of concern for other fans. I was kind of excited to see like how he would be a good Mr. Fantastic or not, or if he would. But they wrote him pretty well. And he was exactly what you expect Reed Richards to be. He was like technical, he was smart, and like with that, he was also sometimes like coldish in a way. Not like super emotionally intelligent, but still decision making intelligent, and obviously math smart. Same with, like I was saying, with Pedro Pascal playing him. It's not super comic accurate, like the visuals weren't like for him. He has a mustache. But he's still, you can still tell he's Reed Richards. He's Mr. Fantastic. One obvious flaw with Mr. Fantastic though was that I felt like there was an underutilization of his powers. I don't want to spoil it too much. It was just, I felt like they could have shown more creative ways, especially this being an introduction movie. Like, they should have shown him do cool stuff for now. Like, there's no reason to save it for later. I think they should show it now and then show even more later. But I felt like, honestly, watching this, I kind of forgot that he could stretch until he was doing it. Like, during the main like action sequence, because I mean I saw it sometimes, but then like I forgot this guy just isn't super smart. He could also stretch really long, and I honestly just forgot about that. So that when I saw it again, I was like, oh yeah, he can stretch. In the comics, he's been seen using his powers in many unique ways, like binoculars. He stretched his face to avoid lasers, and even like the 2007 Fantastic Four, he used it to hold the Ferris wheel together, which was super cool. He was super long. Again, decision making. I feel like they could have done something like that, and just really, especially it being an intro. But yeah. Now here's the thing. Ben Grimm was showcased pretty well too. They really showcase more of his intelligence, more utility than just clobbering time. Obviously, he's more than just a bronze, but he's still bronze. Of course, he's still bronze. That's kind of his power, that he's indestructible. They give him more things to do rather than just punch the way out, and I like that part for sure. And especially like for him, since he's a big rock monster, that's his power. That it's great that they show him do something else, but I feel like they also could have shown his powers a little bit more, because I mean, like, he's indestructible. Like, a lot of things in the comics was that, like, you can't break him. No one could break him. Like, powers meant to break stuff can't break him. And he was also super strong. He could lift a bunch of tons, and like, he, you could tell he could do that, but like not as much as I thought you would be able to tell. Something I also wish we saw more of is, like, since it's not origin story, we kind of skipped out kind of on the part where he thinks he's ugly or whatever, and whatever. I kind of like that, and like I like seeing that, at least, not him feeling bad about himself, just that character development. I wish we saw more of that. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how they could have included that, considering this wasn't an origin story. But I wish they would include it in some way. But I'm not a writer. I don't know how they could have done that in this movie. Now, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, he was focused on pretty well in the film, and again they showed him like displaying his intellect, and it showed it in a creative way, like in his own way, not just like in technicality or like, you know, math smart or like not even street smart. He's like, he was just smart in his own way. Like he did his own thing, and like he was more involved like in the sidelines. But obviously, like even the sidelines was revolved around the main storyline. But he was just like kind of doing his own thing. And relating this to my previous critique of Superman, would I like Superman or this better? I think they're about the same, with this one being like a little less, but like I feel like that's okay because Superman, like, there's two different franchises. I'm not gonna get into that much, but like I think you should go watch it. There was a post credit for the scene. I don't think I'll talk about the post credit. Maybe I will. There was a post credit for the scene. It was like I'm gonna end. It was a creative way of showing his before I talk about the post credit, for displaying his intellect rather than just you know, being a spoiler warning for the Rockstar womanizing Rockstar or whatever. Let me know what you think after watching this movie. I thought that was like a fun character. That's who he is. Anything my review. That's who he is in the comics. I'm pretty sure. And let me know how it sounds this time. I know the last video was super quiet. They didn't really dwell on that too much either. Like they didn't make him do that. The post credits. I think it was a good balance. Oh my god! I really like Johnny in this film, and you could really like. I think he's gonna be like a fan favorite. That was super hype. He had a good display of powers too. You know, the CGI would look great. He Dr. Doom showed up, looked real, and didn't show his face. He like his actual face. Showed his mask. Showed his thing. He was going of ways too. You know. The sun, like Sue Storm. You know, I was just like, no, Sue Storm. It was great. My theaters, you know, they started capitalizing. I love Doctor Doom. I can't wait to see Doctor Doom. I remember before watching it that they said that she was like the real leader of like, she's gonna be the real leader or whatever. And like, although that's not true, Reed Richards is still the leader. You could tell like what they meant when you're watching this. I think she's more like the heart of like the group, and you could really tell by her character that she's really grounded and calm, and she's really like analytical too. And like when I say she's being like the heart of the group and like Reed was mostly the brains, is like she's more emotionally like intelligent, and like she's just, her emotional awareness is like amazing, and her display of power in this film was really highlighted too, and like it was shown to be a force to be dealt with. And you know, I say she was like one of the members holding the family together, but like that's the point of them. They're all holding each other together. The point of them is that none of them can do it without one another. You think like, as you're watching this, oh, thank goodness Johnny was here, thank goodness Sue Storm was here, thank goodness Mr. Mr. Fantastic was here, because otherwise they would have died. And I'm like, that's the point. That's the point. That like they're a family, and it shows that for sure. It really like they need each other, and you could really tell that in this movie. Like no one's like even though Mr. Fantastic is the leader because he's like super smart, like they still need each other. There's sometimes where they just like they don't need Mr. Fantastic to like tell them what to do. They just do it. They each know their role, and they play it super well. Now, some parts of the movie I didn't like was like the plot armor. I felt like there was a lot of plot armor in this movie, but like I also don't think there were, like, it was plot armor, but it also made sense. Some of the armor, you know, was just different ways of telling the story. You know, it didn't really have any major effects. It was just different. Like they were gonna do it anyways, but instead they just showed it this way. Like it was gonna happen, but they just showed it a different way. They just like they would introduce a character in the beginning or whatever that's gonna be used on later. But I mean, if they didn't, it honestly wouldn't have mattered. But like it was more interesting to watch anyways, so like it was fine, you know. If they chose the most obvious route, it would have been just like, you know, it's that simple. Like, yeah, of course they did this, but like they just sort of like, oh, now they could do this. But it was just a different way of showing it, and I think it was fine, even though like I felt like, oh yeah, like okay. And I think that was the point. It was just to show the characters off. So like it was simple, and you know, that's just what I think with the plot armor. Um, so I'm gonna rate this movie a 7.5 to like an 8. I'm leaning more towards a 7.5 talking about it and like just rethinking about it because like it was a fun movie to watch. To recap, the visuals were great. I love the characters. The story was simple, but like still high staking. They could have showcased their powers a little more. I think that might have like brought it down for me a little. Also, like the pacing, I felt like was too fast. I they could have tried slowing down like in a couple like moments. They couldn't just like set up a plot line and then just keep moving on from it just to finish the movie, you know. But you know that's just me, you know. Especially since especially with that power thing, you know, they could have shown more since these guys are some more like the unique heroes that we have, like with actual powers, like Iron Man. Like he's just some guy in a suit, you know, a lot of super serum. If I had to say whether I like this or Thunderbolts better, I would say I would like Thunderbolts a little bit more because they really showed like a lot. They showcase a lot of powers, and that's what you like want to see. You don't want to see like a bunch of people, but like,